Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big League Dreaming, the podcast, a show about baseball, dreams, and family. I'm John Gonzalez, the dad, and if you're new to the show, it's a dad and his three sons talking about the game they love. To us, baseball is more than a game, it's life, and life is made up of dreams. Our goal is to bring families together through inspirational stories and following our passion for all levels of the game. Think of this as our dinner conversations around the dinner table. Anyway, we want to thank you for joining us on this special podcast. Today's show is a little different. We will have an interview I did with my oldest son, Zach Gonzalez, a Mariners fan who's based in North Carolina. And this was on January 25th. When I was asked to fill in to host the Sports Project show on WYGR in Grand Rapids, I thought it was a great opportunity to have Zach on and talk about our family podcast. Before we play the interview, though, we thought we should update you on a few things. A lot has changed in 2 weeks. Number one, last night in the Caribbean Series Championship, it was the Dominican Republic winning a low-scoring game against the host, Mexico 1-0. Manager Albert Pujols and his team outlasted Benji Gill's team with a great pitching performance from Ismael Rogers, who went on to win the MVP. Overall, the Leones club, representing the Dominican team, only allowed one hit against the Mexican club, Charros de Jalisco, en route to capturing the Tournament of Winter League champions. The Dominican Republic now has won, or I should say, they've had the team in the Caribbean Series for the last 6 years. That's a tournament record. Also in my interview with Zach, which we will share here in a few seconds, we talk about college baseball. And I wanted to update you that youngest son, Zane Gonzalez, our Red Sox fan, he is the associate head coach at Indiana University at South Bend, and they opened their NAIA college season in Texas on Friday night, last night. His team lost 2 close games to Our Lady of the Lake University, 5-2 and 5-3. The team square off in a doubleheader today, 1 and 3 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow all their season at iusbtitans.com. Speaking of college baseball, I think Zach mentions this briefly on the interview, but D1 college baseball, Division I, opens February 14th. We're all excited about that. I'm sure we'll do a podcast soon. Lastly, middle son Ty, our Mets fan, wants to remind everyone to stay tuned for a special episode of Big League Dreaming. We're going to be unboxing the top Series 1 baseball cards. We did it last year, and it was fun. A few surprises. So stay tuned for that. Okay, I think that's it for all the updates. I want to thank Steve Project from the Sports Project show at WYGR in Grand Rapids for allowing me the opportunity to fill in for him a couple of weeks ago. I hope everyone, you enjoy this interview with Zach. We had a great time. Have a blessed weekend, everyone, and keep dreaming. And welcome back to the Sports Project show. John Gonzalez filling in for the professor, Steve Project. We had him on earlier in the show, and if you missed that interview, well, I'm hoping that we're recording today's show and I can put up some podcast, and maybe we'll have that interview with Steve or a portion of the interview with Steve up as a podcast at some point. Speaking of podcast, you know what? I'm involved with several podcasts. In fact, just started a new one over in Saginaw, and that's been a lot of fun. And a longtime podcast that I've done for 10 years now with my good friend and co-host, Amy Sherman. It's called Behind the Mitten, and you can find Behind the Mitten on any podcast platform that you listen to right now. We just travel the state, checking out restaurants, breweries, travel destinations. We just spent some time up at Crystal Mountain, Ironfish Distillery. So if you love to eat and drink and find out some cool places to hang out during the year here in Michigan, just check out the podcast, Behind the Mitten. And of course, my good friend, Amy Sherman. The website is amyandgonzo.com. So that's kind of what's going on with me in the podcast world. Although there is a project that I've been working on for 5 years now. It's season 5 of a passion project. It's called Big League Dreaming, the podcast. And it's a podcast I started with my sons, Zach, Ty, and Zane, to just keep talking about baseball and the game that we love. All 3 of them are still involved with the game in some way, some more than others. But it's just been a lot of fun. And to tell us more about the podcast is my oldest son, Zach Gonzalez. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great, Dad. Good to talk to you this morning.
Good to talk to you as well. And you're thinking, like, why is what's going on here? Well, again, it's John Gonzalez filling in for Steve Project, and you're listening to the Sports Project show. And I am talking to my oldest son, Zach Gonzalez. a left-handed pitcher from Comstock Park, played ball at Jackson College as well as Davenport University, and also coached for one season, right, Zach, at Calvin?
Yeah, that was 2014 now. Wow. But yeah, that season was a lot of fun. Made a nice little run in the regionals. A lot of good memories over at Calvin.
I'm sure a lot of good memories there, a lot of good memories at Davenport, at Jackson, and, of course, the old CP stomping grounds there. But, baseball has been a big part of our family since almost day one. I'm sure you remember some of those early baseball games at Tiger Stadium and then becoming a Mariners fan through Ken Griffey Jr. Why don't you tell people a little bit about our podcast and what they can expect when they tune in?
Yeah, sure. So it's, just the dad and his three sons talking about the game they love. So we do a bunch of different things on the podcast. We like to interview different people in baseball and all different facets of the game, whether it be people in the minor leagues, agents, podcasters, former players, current players. We talk a lot of Michigan stuff, a lot of Tiger connections, but also people, college coaches or scouts that are in different parts of the country as well. So it's been a really fun, well-rounded podcast that we started 2021, and we're starting year 5 this year. So very exciting that we still got it going, and we're all really enjoying it.
So as I said, Zach is the Mariners fan. So son number 2 is Ty, and he's based here in the Grand Rapids area, and he is the New York Mets fan. And then son number 3, Zane Gonzalez, also a left-handed pitcher, and he is a big Red Sox fan. I think that's funny. Would you get any kind of reaction from your friends when you tell them that we all have different, affiliations at the major league level?
Yeah, especially when they tune into the podcast and I hear each of us, touch on our favorite teams. They're like, how did that happen? All three of you guys aren't Tigers fans? And it's like, well, we all are kind of Tigers fans. That's our family team. But we have like our number one team that we kind of grew up with as kids, and we've just stuck to them. So, but it's cool. We get 4 different divisions across Major League Baseball to kind of talk about and touch on. So it makes it well-rounded and fun.
Yeah, it does make it fun. Speaking of fun, we just dropped a new episode this morning. Again, it's called Big League Dreaming, the podcast, and we dropped a new episode this morning. And this one you were not involved with, although we have to have you on the next one. The podcast typically, will have at least 2 or 3 of the sons. It depends on schedules and what's going on and what kids are sick, right, Zach? But this one it's a trivia contest between me and Zane, where Ty came up with some trivia questions and try to stump us and see who had the better baseball knowledge.
Yeah, I was listening to it. It premiered this morning at 9 a.m., so I was listening to a little bit of that. It was pretty funny, some of the questions that Ty came up with. That was good.
We did entertain ourselves. All right, hey, I do want to talk about a couple things, but first of all, baseball for us is a family thing, as we said, but it's actually never far away, right? So coming up next weekend, we will have the 2025 Caribbean Series taking place, and you and I are excited about this because on Friday, January 31st, we're going to see some real live action baseball down in the Caribbean, and Japan's also part of this tournament, right?
Yeah, I'm really excited that they're going to be putting these games on MLB Network kind of for the first time. I mean, in years past, it was always right around the Super Bowl when you would see the championship game would be streamed on TV for the Caribbean World Series. And it was like, oh, man, we got the Super Bowl and the championship game going on at the same time. Like, there's live baseball being played. Like, this is awesome. But they're going to play more of those kind of playoff games leading up to the championship game. So it's going to be really exciting just to see some live baseball. And then college baseball will be here before you know it.
Yeah, that usually starts, same time, right? End of January, 1st of February?
Yeah, so each division of college baseball has a different start date. So Division I college baseball will start on February 14th, Friday, that weekend. But, these other smaller schools can start earlier. So Division II will start the weekend before, February 8th and 9th weekend. And then some of the junior college programs in those Florida schools, they'll start end of January, early February.
And Zane's coaching at Indiana University at South Bend. By the way, he does have a West Michigan player on the team. Lucky Tierman from West Catholic is on the roster this year. But they start, I want to say, February 8th and 9th down in San Antonio at the NAIA level. So, yeah, I mean, there's just tons of baseball going on here. I should mention Venezuela, Dominican, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Japan are the 5 teams in the Caribbean World Series. You can go to MLB.com and just search the TV schedule. All the games will be there. First game is at 4:30 on Friday, January 31st. Championship game is Friday, February 7th. Hey, Zach, before we run out of time, we got to talk about the MLB Pipeline Top 100 Prospects ranking. They just came out. And I think there was they wanted to wait for to see where Sasaki would sign, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about Roki Sasaki and why people are excited about this player?
Yeah, so the MLB Top 100 Prospect list came out yesterday. So all the different organizations got to see where their prospects landed across all 30 teams. A very exciting time whenever that prospect list comes out. Roki Sasaki is the number 1 prospect, which is funny because, you know, he signed a major league contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers coming over from Japan, but he's technically a prospect. He hasn't reached that status of service time or anything like that where he would not be on a list like this. And he's a young pitcher who throws very hard. And he was actually on that World Baseball Classic team with Shohei Ohtani when they beat Mike Trout in the United States in that final game down there at the Marlins Park to win the World Baseball Classic last year. So everyone's very excited to see this young pitcher, to see what he can do against the major league competition, and everybody's expecting him to just blow guys out of the water. So it's going to be really exciting to watch him pitch.
I know the Tiger fans are excited because we have 6 players that have landed on the top 100 list. Jackson Jobe, the right-handed pitcher who got called up at the end of the season last year, is number 5 on the prospect list. And I believe number 6 is Max Clark, who finished the season here at High A West Michigan with the Whitecaps. He's projected to start the season with the Whitecaps, but move up rather quickly. For Mariners fans, I would imagine you're pretty excited too, because you have several players on that list as well, right?
Yeah, the Mariners had 7, which is the most, along with the Chicago Cubs. They had 7 prospects on the top 100. Like you said, Tigers had 6, Dodgers had 6, and the White Sox had 6. All the other organizations had 5 or less. Some even had only 1. So for Tigers to have 6 and the Mariners to have 7, they're in a really good position for the future. I'm really excited for Tigers infielder at number 28 on the list, Kevin McGonigal, who was with the Whitecaps last year with Max Clark. I think he's going to rise up really good. He's a 2027 ETA guy, just like Max Clark. He has a really good hit tool. So I don't know the listeners on the show how like baseball they are, but when they put out these prospect lists, they give everybody a grade on the 5 tools. So hit, power, run, arm, and then overall. And they actually gave Kevin McGonigal a higher hit tool than Max Clark. So very, very good feel with the bat. He's a little infielder prospect. And then Teheran Liranzo is number 82 on the list for the Tigers. They got him in the trade for Jack Flaherty with the Dodgers. And then rounding out, Jose Briseño is number 95, who just had a monster Arizona Fall League last fall.
Yeah, was he the AAA winner there for the Fall League, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was an amazing year he had in the Arizona Fall League. So thank you, Zach, for the roundup. I appreciate that. I should also mention that the Red Sox also fared well in that top 100 list as well.
Oh yeah, the Red Sox have like top tier guys. So, with Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony, and Marcelo Meyer, like those guys are just so high on the list. I don't know who all they have after those, but yeah, Red Sox are going to have some impact starting this year.
All right, Zach. Well, thanks for joining us here on the Sports Project Show. It's good talking to you, and we'll have to get together and kind of coordinate our schedule to record the next episode of Big League Dreaming.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We appreciate it.
All right. That is Zach Gonzalez, my son, from the Big League Dreaming Podcast, a podcast you can hear with a dad and his three sons talking about the game they love. Just go to Big League Dreaming, the podcast, and you'll find it wherever you listen to your podcast. You're listening to the Sports Project Show. More coming up. We're going to talk Baseball Hall of Fame next here with Mark Dewey.